Hi, I'm Ben McKenzie, and not Elizabeth Flux. Welcome to Pratchat, the monthly Terry Pratchett Book Club podcast. Each month, we discuss one of Terry Pratchett's books with a special guest, though this month, our regular episode, discussing both volumes of the Ankh-Morpork Archives and the Discworld Almanac, has had to be delayed until later in the month. We're hoping to bring it to you around the 25th of February. But at the suggestion of subscriber Molokov via Discord, I'm going to have a little chat about Discworld merchandise. There's actually quite a bit of it about, and while we're a very visual podcast, we probably won't ever do a full episode about all this stuff that you can get. So this seemed like a fun idea, not least because the archives and the almanac are kind of merch themselves. So that's what we're doing for this little bonus episode to keep you going until our main episode arrives. Just before we get on to that, though, next month, March 2025, marks a whole decade since the death of Terry Pratchett. It's hard to believe it's been that long. Our usual episode date of the 8th of March is pretty close to the actual anniversary, so it kind of felt fitting to mark that in some way. And while, it's good to celebrate someone by celebrating their life, I feel like that's kind of what we do all the time on Pratchat. Certainly, I hope so. So instead, and to honour the way that Pratchett himself never shied away from talking about the subject, we thought we'd mark the occasion by discussing Pratchett's own thoughts on death. Death with a small d. It's important to clarify. So we'll be discussing his lecture, Shaking Hands with Death, which was broadcast. We'll link to a YouTube video of it and published as a short book, but it's most easily available in the non-fiction collection, A Slip of the Keyboard. Now, we'll no doubt touch on some of Terry's other writing and thoughts about death as well. And if you have any questions about that, whether that's about the lecture or his thoughts on death or his writing about death, please send them in. You can reply to us on social media, or you can email us at chat@pratchatpodcast.com, and you can use the hashtag Pratchat85 for social media posts. All right, let's talk about merch. And really, when we talk about merch, there are two main shops that you get this stuff from. This is the people who make and sell Discworld merchandise. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to this. When other things happen, like TV series or whatever, there'll be licensed merch based on that. And occasionally, very occasionally, there used to be other stuff licensed to other people, but that doesn't really happen very much anymore. It's all pretty tightly controlled by Narrativia and the estate. But there are two shops who have a pretty broad license to produce and sell Discworld merchandise. And those are the Discworld Emporium, which is based in Wincanton. It's owned and run by Isabel and Bernard, the Cunning Artificer Pearson. And then there's also Discworld.com, which used to be called PJSM Prints, as advertised in the back of the Discworld Almanac, both of these businesses actually, which is owned and run by Sandra and Joe Kidby. And yes, that's Kidby as in Paul Kidby. I think one of them is his sister, one of them is his wife or his ex-partner. It doesn't really matter. Clearly they're all friends because they all still work together. So those are the two businesses. And they originally sold quite different stuff. So Discworld.com, which was PJSM Prints, used to mostly sell prints of Paul Kidby's artwork. Then we had the Cunning Artificer, Bernard Pearson's wife, Isabel, who made and sold all kinds of like miniatures and stuff. They used to have a company called Clarecraft that made the original Discworld miniatures. You probably know a lot of this if you've been involved in Discworld fandom at all. So they used to make quite different things. But these days, the two stores kind of do have a lot of overlap. Not necessarily in the specific things that they sell, although they do both sell the Discworld books, and they both usually sell the really highly collectible special Discworld books that are made by Narrativia, who make the Dun Manifestin editions of the books, like the special edition of the Discworld Companion, the big fancy edition of Guards that they did. They did one of the biography, A Life with Footnotes. So they sell those things in common. But otherwise, they sell quite different stuff, even though there's overlap in the kinds of things they sell. So they both sell like clothing and accessories and collectibles, but they make their own versions of those things that are a bit different. So if you're looking for a present for somebody who you know loves Discworld, I would recommend you have a look at both because they've got a bit of a different vibe. And look, before we get into any specific recommendations about stuff they sell that I think is quite cool, I wanted to make it clear they don't know I'm doing this. Neither website, not the estate. And they're certainly not paying me to do this. So I'm not shilling for them. There'll be no affiliate links in the episode notes. This is really just a bit of fun. And look, for me, it really is kind of just a bit of fun because I'm not a big merchandise person. I don't own a lot of things in that way. Mostly the things that I've collected in my life have been books and games. Oh, and T-shirts, I should say. T-shirts and badges, but I'll come back to that. But mostly I don't have a lot of Discworld merch. I got lots of the books. In fact, I got pretty much all of the books in various different editions. Not more than one edition of most of the books. There's only a few that I have more than one copy of. But, you know, I have the books. I have all of the board games, but I don't really have a lot of stuff. Really the only merch that I have a few Doctor Who things here and there. So I have a couple of sonic screwdrivers because that's just a nice prop to have. And I've got quite a few little police box and some actually quite large police box things that are strewn about the house. And then I kind of got a few little miniatures and stuff, but that's about it. You know, not heaps of stuff. So I'm not a big merch person. So I don't own much of this stuff and I probably wouldn't buy it for myself. But I tell you what, and this is not me fishing for you to do this, by the way, but if someone bought any of these things for me that I'm going to discuss, I would probably find it quite delightful. But I don't like to have too much stuff. Like a lot of people these days, I do not own my own house, which means, unfortunately, I often have to move every 2 to 3 years if I'm lucky. So I am trying to downsize a bit because it's a lot of stuff to move. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. But if you're looking for a nice little present, there's some cool stuff on both these websites. So let's have a look at them. I mentioned that I really like badges or pins. And that's lucky for me because both of these stores have really got me covered. When we're looking at the Emporium, they tend to have, because they started out doing like miniatures and artifacts, really, and we'll come back to that idea. They kind of have those sorts of pins, and there's some really cool ones. So they have a hat pin badge. That makes it sound like it's a badge of a hat pin, like Granny Weatherwax would wear. No, what I mean is it's a kind of a replica of Terry Pratchett's hat, but as a pin, and it's sort of 3-dimensional. That's pretty cool. And I also like it because it's kind of subtle, like it's a hat. Like if you know Terry Pratchett, then you'll recognize it. But if you don't, it's just like a cool pin of a hat. And I like things like that are a bit subtle because they serve as a lot of this stuff, it serves as a marker. It's a way we can spot a fellow fan, right? And go, oh, you're into that thing that I'm into. That's cool, right? So I like something that's a little bit subtle like that. So that's quite nice. And they've also got, and this is it's sort of pin adjacent, I suppose. This is the other one I really liked from the Discworld Emporium was they've got the Omega kind of oval shaped clasp that Paul Kidby illustrates Death having to close his cloak. I can't remember if it's in the Josh Kirby illustrations as well. I don't think so. And I also don't remember if it's actually in any of the written descriptions of what Death wears, but I think it is. I think it's mentioned once or twice. Like it's a sort of detail that Paul would certainly, I think, have made up on his own, but also I think he would have drawn it from the books. So I think it is mentioned in the books, but it's very cool. So that's pretty cool. I really like those. They got a few other little pins, like they have one of the Summoning Dark. That's really nice. I really like that. Yeah, so those are some cool pins from the Discworld Emporium. Discworld.com also has a lot of pins. They sort of more go in. Most of their pins are more the sort of classic enamel pins. So they're sort of flat, very glossy. They're multiple colors. And a lot of them are based on, like a lot of this stuff actually is based on sort of in-world references to the Discworld, but they also have some sort of more esoteric ones. So I think the first one I saw on their website that I really liked, they had one for the current Discworld year, which this year is the year of the Luminous Lemur. I don't think that one glows in the dark. They do have at least one glow-in-the-dark pin, but I don't think that's one. So that's good. They've got a lot of cool, subtle stuff that, again, is a Discworld reference, but you wouldn't necessarily know it unless you really had read the books, right? So it doesn't say Discworld on it. They've got a blackboard monitor badge. Great stuff. They've got quite a few little shields, like the kind of thing you'd see a prefect wear. And in fact, one of them doesn't say prefect, but they're sort of meant to represent a position in the guild. So there's like an Assassin's Guild one. Those are quite good. So they're like a little school pin. I really enjoyed that. They have a pin that says, I still ain't dead. In fact, both stores have versions of this in various ways. There's necklaces, there's pins. That was quite good. They have one that just says ook. that was quite fun. Yeah, just lots of cool stuff like that. Oh, they have a few things referencing the glorious 25th of May. That's quite nice. And they have a collection of rare pins, most of which were ones that were made as collectibles for the releases of some of the last books. And they're often much more elaborate. They're much more expensive. They're mostly sort of the last remaining stock of a very limited run. Usually I think about 500. So they've got a few interesting things there at Discworld.com in terms of pins. The one that I have to admit I was tempted by, which I didn't think I would be, and it's cheap at the moment. They've discounted it, probably for obvious reasons when you find out what it is they have a replica of the watch badge from the TV show. Now, I don't think I really would wear a watch badge for all of the kind of connotations of associating yourself with even a fictional police force. It's a little bit of a weird thing to do. But the watch badge from the TV show, whatever else you can say about that show, it's a cool design. And the pin looks really good. They also do have a more traditional one, and they have replicas of both Vimes' own badge, which is an old style badge. This is a detail from the books. It'll come up when we discuss the diaries too, but he has like his original watch badge. He never got a new one of the new design. And they've got a pin which replicates John Keel's badge. Same design, different number. So pins have got me covered, and pins I like because they're small. You can collect a lot of them and put them all in a box, keep them together. And, it's a fun accessory you can put on. I wear a jacket for work, and I like to spruce it up, have a pin on there, have a pronoun pin and then another one. So pins are great. Now, I also do like prints and maps. I don't have a lot of them because I have too many things that I never hang up on my walls because, again, I'm a renter. It's a pain. It's a hassle. So I don't buy a lot of these, but I have collected all the Discworld maps. I've got most of them. I think the only one that I don't have, because they've all got little bits and pieces and they're useful as a reference, right? So that's something interesting that the Discworld Emporium have. They've produced new maps, and they've got some cool stuff there. The best one that I found, the one that I like the most, is the Ankh-Morpork Doodle map. Now, I think this is based on the new map that they've done recently, but it's not colored in. So it's basically just like a line drawing of the whole of the city of Ankh-Morpork, and it's big and it's on nice paper. And the idea is you can either just hang it up as like a nice sort of piece of monochrome art, or you can color it in. And I actually kind of like the idea of getting one of those. And if I eventually ever run, as I hope I will, a role-playing game set in the Discworld, I could kind of color in places of interest where people go in the city. I think that would be quite fun. So that's fun. I mean, it's massive. I don't think you could practically use it for that, but it's pretty cool. So that was a cool map. And there's lots of cool prints and illustrations. And, if you've heard the podcast before, you know that I do really like Paul Kidby's art and Josh Kirby's art. I'm always really excited to see another artist's take on the Discworld, because when it comes to books particularly, I like not to have a fixed image of the characters and places. I like to be able to imagine it myself. So the next best thing to that is to see lots of other people imagining it rather than one consistent kind of design. So while I love Paul Kidby's art, I love Josh Kirby's stuff, I really like that the Discworld Emporium has used a lot of other artists. Well, I say a lot. I don't know how many, but they've used several other artists to do various designs and illustrations. And I really like that. It's cool. You see some really cool stuff coming out of that. Now, I mentioned I really like the games. You can still get the collector's edition of Clax, which is fancy. I did a video of this for subscribers, and I like some things about Clax, the collector's edition, more than the original edition, and some things I probably slightly prefer about the original edition. But, it's still there. They've still got copies. So if you want to get one of the Discworld board games, that's one of the two that's still in print. The other one being Thud. They have a cloth bag edition. So it's a set of Thud pieces, some trolls and some dwarfs. And they go in a cloth bag with a cloth board that you can fold up and stick in the bag. So it's very portable, doesn't take up too much space. It looks really nice. I'm going to confess, out of all the things that I'm going to talk about today, apart from some of the pins, this is probably the one that I would be most likely to buy, because I do like the Thud set that I've got, which is one of the early ones, but I just think that one's much more classy. I don't know what the pieces are like. They look, I think they've got a different design, but they look pretty cool, and they're sort of in this white stone style thing. I think they're resin, but they're painted to look like white stone. They're pretty good. So that's pretty cool. That's probably my top pick of thing that I would buy or would be delighted to get. So that's a game, and there's some maps and prints. I mentioned earlier, I really like t-shirts. I have too many. I've got too many t-shirts. I'm slowly getting rid of them because most of them I've had for 10 or 20 years, and they still fit, but I don't know if it's moths or something else, but a lot of them have got like little holes right down the bottom at the front. On all the shirts, it's in the same place, which is what makes me think it's not moths, it's something else weird going on. But anyway, so I'm slowly weeding out the ones that are falling apart. And I got to admit that neither place really had a lot of clothing that I was really keen on, but the one that I do like is the Band with Rocks in Tour t-shirt. It's pretty cool. I like a lot of the t-shirts at Discworld Emporium and a lot of their clothing. It's very slick. Like it looks like a modern band t-shirt. And, it's got the cool thing where on the back, it's got like the cities on the disc where they played in the book, which is nice. So I think that's kind of cool. I would like that. But all of those t-shirts very big and in your face. And that's one of the big differences actually in the apparel. So Discworld Emporium has got this stuff that's like very like bright and colorful. It's like, hey, I'm a Discworld fan. Here I am. Boom. And then Discworld.com, they have clothing too. They have t-shirts. They have hoodies. They have beanies. Their beanies are quite nice. But they're all a bit more subtle. Like they're not, I mean, there's still a t-shirt. There's still a design on them. But yeah, if you're looking for something a little bit less, hey, look at me, I'm a sci-fi and fantasy nerd, then these are the sort of things you're looking at. And I do like the beanies. They're nice. But they're not, I think they're all acrylic and I only like wool beanies. So, because I nearly bought one. I kind of wanted well, there are a couple actually, because they have a few different designs and they look really cool. But I know I wouldn't wear them if they're not real wool. And that's, this is sort of the problem is that it's not a problem, but it's an evolution, right? We've gone from a couple of cottage industries of making things by hand to Discworld's now so big that there's a fan base that if they want to buy stuff, you have to be able to mass produce these things. And so the things are made in a different way now. I don't know that that's good or bad, but it's different. Stephen Briggs used to have his own website as well. And he used to sell scarves and beanies and things like that, that I think were handmade. I'm not 100% sure. And you still can get scarves. They have an Unseen University scarf. No Dimwell or Dolly Sisters scarves, unfortunately. But that's okay. We can make our own. They're just stripy in different colors. So the clothing, there's some cool socks. Again, there's this sort of cool Discworld fan kind of socks and stuff that you get at Discworld Emporium. And then you have the sort of more subtle, slightly more understated designs at Discworld.com. I think that's probably a reasonable way to describe them. While we're talking about cloth products, though, I got to say, one thing I really like, Discworld.com, they've got some great tea towels. They've got an Anoia tea towel. In fact, they've got two different Anoia tea towels, but I really like, there's a monochrome one. I think it's like sort of a blue color. And it's just sort of like an illustration of Anoia, the goddess, printed onto a tea towel. They also have like a glorious 25th of May tea towel and a couple of others, I think. But yeah, have an Anoia tea towel in your kitchen. That was really fun. So there's that kind of stuff. There's a few other accessories. So I mentioned that there's like the sort of jewelry. Discworld Emporium really sort of, you can get like the death ring. There's the I Ain't Dead necklace, which I think is quite nice because it's like around your neck, kind of like the sign. And it's made to look like the sign. Interestingly, I think that the Discworld Emporium ones all say I ain't dead. And I think the Discworld.com ones say I still ain't dead, like with the still sort of inserted in. So yeah, I just thought that was a fun difference between the two sites. I'm sure they must talk to each other and coordinate this so that they don't do anything that's too similar. One of the accessories that I found, I don't really like tote bags. I find them not very useful because the main thing that I want to tote around is board games. So I need a bigger bag. But Discworld.com do have these shopper bags. And if you've not used one of those, it's kind of like a canvas bag, but it's sort of constructed. So it's like more like a kind of a box shape. So it's a bit wider and it's got a flat bottom. And that's a great size bag actually for board games if you're just carrying one or two. Really works nicely. They had a few nice designs of those. And they also have an umbrella. It's way too big for me. It's a golf size umbrella, but it's got the Great Atuan on it. So that's quite fun. I think if you know someone who's a Discworld fan who likes to play golf or, goes to the beach and needs an umbrella to be under, that might be a good present for them. Don't know. Now they do, at the Discworld Emporium, something I almost forgot to say is they do have plushies, but the only one that I really, really liked, actually there's two that I liked. One was Grebo. The Grebo plushie is the best one. They also have like the Librarian and Death, but I think Grebo works the best. It just looks really great. Just the expression on his face is very good. But my favorite one is they have a rat on a stick, and it is on a stick. And I feel like if I bought that, my cat would attack it for sure. Be great. So it's like a plush dead rat with a stick stuck in it. It's great. It's very, I can't believe they made that. It's so good. But look, I think my absolute favorite thing made by either site is probably on the Discworld Emporium. They make these little artifacts. So not just jewelry and things, but they make these sort of little bits of the Discworld come to life. And look, there's some stuff that's a bit like that on Discworld.com as well. But my favorites are at the Discworld Emporium. And they have beer mats. They have beer mats for various different pubs from Ankh-Morpork and around the disc. They also have one of different brand names, which are mostly the sort of beers, but the absolute best artifact, right? And they have some other really good ones, but my absolute favorite is the dried frog pills box. So this is like, it's like a little pill box. It's like sort of little round, it's not quite egg shaped. It's sort of like sort of little bulbous sort of round container. And the lid is like a carved frog. Oh, and I think it does say dried frog pills on the side. So good. I love that. I don't know what I'd put in it. I have no use for it, but it's cool. I just thought that was really cool. Anyway, I think that was fun. Like, it's just interesting to see a fandom where the people making the stuff that's official, people who knew the creator, right? Friends, close friends of the creator, are really sort of making sure that everything they make is quality stuff. Whether or not you like the art on it, whether or not any of it's your cup of tea or the kind of thing you would buy, I think we can agree that they're putting some love into it. But also it's just made by these small group of people. You know, it's not farmed out and licensed to 40 different manufacturers who are slapping it on any old thing, you know, like some brands that you can find. There's some real quality control going on. And I think that is a great legacy. You know, that's how Pratchett did it when he was alive. And now they're not letting that slip. I think that's great. So there you go. That's a few ideas of what's out there in terms of the merch. Didn't think I'd talk about that for quite so long, if I'm honest with you, but hopefully that was fun. You can find all that stuff at the Discworld Emporium or Discworld.com. I'll put links in the episode notes. Again, they're not paying me to do this. They don't even know I'm doing it. But, you know, if you've ever thought getting a nice present for the Discworld fan in your life, maybe you'll find something there. I will let you know that the postage to Australia, it's quite expensive, but I'll also let you know if you buy something from the Discworld Emporium, the packaging is pretty fun because they also sell, I didn't even mention this, they also sell Discworld stamps. But that's for a whole other episode, I feel. But they're like little stickers in the shape of stamps. So they look like real stamps, but of course they're not. But you can stick them to your envelopes and send them off. You got to put real postage on as well, but they're very cool. And they do new ones periodically. I think they're still making new ones. They're cool. Thanks for listening to this. I hope this was a fun diversion and that you enjoyed hearing from me, even if it was just me rambling about stuff on the internet, more or less. I thought about doing a news wrap up, but there's either no news or it's depressing news at the moment. So I thought let's do something light and fun. So thanks again, Molokov, for the suggestion to look at some of this merch. Do you know of any great merch made by fans? Because fans do it. I mean, they don't sell it for money generally. It's usually just done for a bit of fun or for cosplay purposes. And look, there's some cool stuff out there. One of our subscribers talked about a great suitcase that they got made by a friend and who got Terry Pratchett to sign it, and then he nearly gave away that it existed at another signing. It was like, haven't I signed something for you before? And he's like, oh, no, I'm thinking of someone else. But of course he was thinking of the right person. It's just that it was a secret. So well done, Terry. You got away with that one. Anyway, if you've got stories like that, you know, what's the coolest Discworld thing you've seen at a convention or something? That's what I'm interested in knowing, because there's always stuff that there's never going to get made as commercial merchandise because it's too niche or it's too weird or it would cost too much to mass produce in a way that would make it cost effective. But fans might still want it. And so someone has made like a dozen of them ever. If you know something like that, please tell me, because that's the other stuff that I don't necessarily want to own that stuff, but I love hearing about it. I think it's so, so cool. So please let me know. I would love to know more about that. Please send in your stories, your photos. Would love to find out what kind of cool stuff fans have made. But look, that's all from me. And until next time, which isn't that far away, just remember, if you're buying something and they say they're cutting their own throat, that's a sign you should probably buy it from someone else.